Welcome to Heart Over Gold, the channel where love, kindness, and humanity shine brighter than any fortune. In today's story, Dana George, pregnant and abandoned by her husband, Jake Claudio, is running from her painful past. When Jake stalks her through the streets of London, a mysterious stranger, Rupert Thorne, steps in to protect her. As Jake's threats escalate, Dana begins to rely on Rupert, a man with power and influence she never expected. This story follows Dana's journey of betrayal, strength, and redemption, as she faces her fears and finds a new hope for her future, with Rupert by her side. Will she let her past define her, or will she rise above it? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments and keep up with our latest stories. Humiliated and pregnant, she found refuge in the arms of a stranger. But her vengeful ex is determined to win her back. Get ready for a story of betrayal and redemption that will grab you from the start. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and give us a like. Your support helps us continue bringing you incredible stories. The snow fell thickly on the bustling streets of London that night, softening the glow of neon lights and quieting the usual city hum. Dana George, 26 and 5 months pregnant, hurried along the sidewalk, clutching her thin coat tightly around her growing belly. Her breath came out in quick bursts, turning to fog in the freezing air. But she wasn't just rushing. She was running from the man who had once sworn to protect her. Jake Claudio, her ex-husband, was following her closely behind. "Dana, stop!" His voice cut through the wind. "You can't avoid me forever." Her heart raced as she pushed herself faster, hoping to outrun the past. She had sworn never to see him again after the night he left her, choosing money and freedom over their unborn child. But now here he was, following her like he still owned her. Fear spread across her skin, and she weaved through the crowd, trying to escape his oppressive presence. His voice echoed closer. The panic surged. Jake had a way of twisting everything, of making her doubt herself, of breaking her down. She couldn't let him trap her again. In the chaos of the night, she desperately searched for a way out. Then, as if driven by instinct, she ran toward the first person she saw, a tall man in a long black coat, standing by a bookstore, looking down at his phone. His calm, composed figure stood like a shield amidst the storm. Without thinking, Dana rushed toward him and wrapped her arms around him. "Please," she whispered urgently, her voice shaking. "Just pretend." The man froze, clearly startled. But as Jake came charging toward them, something changed in the stranger's posture. He wrapped his arm around her protectively, pulling her close as if she belonged there. His gaze met Jake's, firm and unwavering. Jake stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes narrowing. "Who the hell is this?" The stranger didn't flinch. His voice was calm but held a quiet authority. "Her husband." "Is there a problem?" Dana's legs nearly gave way. "Husband?" she gasped, surprised. Her heart raced, not just from fear but from a strange sense of safety in this man's presence. Jake scoffed, stepping back but still not leaving. "Since when do you have a husband, Dana?" His voice was full of disbelief. "Don't lie to me. I know you too well." Dana opened her mouth, but no words came. She clutched the man's coat tighter, silently praying he would keep up the act. The stranger's eyes softened briefly as he looked down at her, then returned his gaze to Jake. "You heard her. She's not interested in speaking to you. Leave." The crowd around them sensed the tension, stopping to watch the scene unfold. Dana felt the weight of countless eyes on her, shame, fear, and a flicker of hope twisting in her chest. Jake clenched his fists, but eventually he turned and stormed off, grumbling curses under his breath as he disappeared into the snow. Dana let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding, sagging slightly against the stranger in relief. She looked up, ready to thank him, but the glance she caught in his eyes made her stop. There was something powerful, something magnetic in his gaze. Who was this man? And why did his protective embrace feel like the beginning of something that could change everything? She opened the door only a crack and her blood ran cold. Jake Claudio was there, a twisted smile on his face, as if he had been waiting for this very moment. Snowflakes clung to his dark hair, and the scent of whiskey wafted off him as he leaned against the doorframe. "Well, well," he slurred. "Dana George, or should I say Dana the Abandoned. You didn't think you'd just slam a door in your husband's face, did you?" She gripped the door knob. "You're not my husband anymore, Jake. You lost that right the day you walked out." Jake laughed low and bitter. "You think a piece of paper changes everything? You think I don't know you still need me?" His eyes drifted toward her belly. "Carrying my kid is a reminder. You can't escape me, Dana." Her throat tightened, but she stood her ground. "This child has nothing to do with you. You made your choice." Jake pushed the door open wider, entering without permission. He lowered his voice with venom in every word. "Don't play the saint with me. You're broke, about to be evicted. How long before you come crawling back, begging for help? Dana backed away, her hand instinctively protecting her stomach. Leave, Jake. But he didn't move. Instead, he laughed bitterly. You really think you can raise this baby alone? You'll fall apart, Dana. You've always needed me, even when you pretended you didn't. He stepped closer, his tone sharpening. And what about that coat-wearing stranger? Don't think I didn't notice. Clinging to him like he was your savior. Pathetic. Don't be ashamed. Her breath hitched. Jake had seen the moment in London. The desperate embrace that had saved her. The memory of the stranger's solid presence flashed in her mind, but she forced herself to stay silent. She couldn't let Jake sense her weakness. Mustering what little courage she had left, Dana straightened her shoulders. I'd rather be alone forever than let you poison my life again. For a brief second, anger blazed in his eyes, raw and dangerous. He stepped so close she could smell the alcohol on his breath. Be careful, Dana. You don't want to make an enemy of me because when I want something, I take it back. And believe me, his lips curled into a cruel smile. I always get what I want. With that, he slammed the door on his way out, his laughter echoing down the hallway. Dana slid the bolt, her hands shaking uncontrollably. She slid down the door, tears burning her eyes, fear coursing through her veins. She whispered to her unborn child, her voice broken. I won't let them take you from me. I swear I won't. But deep down, terror nodded at her because Jake hadn't just come back. He was watching, waiting, and plotting his next move. Part 5. The Billionaire's Promise. The city roared around her, but Dana George only heard the pounding of her own heart. Jake's sudden return had left her trembling for days. And tonight, as she walked down a busy London street after work, her nerves were on edge. Snowflakes swirled in the glow of the streetlights. People rushed by with shopping bags and taxis honked impatiently. Yet in all the noise, Dana felt hunted. She turned her head, and there he was. Jake. His tall figure was weaving through the crowd, following her with a predatory calm. His eyes fixed on her like a hawk stalking its prey. The whiskey-fueled threats from her apartment rang in her mind. She clutched her coat tighter and quickened her pace. Dana. His voice rose above the chaos, sharp and commanding. Don't you dare walk away from me. Her breath came in ragged gasps. She pushed past groups of strangers, but Jake's footsteps grew louder, closer. Panic tightened her chest. She knew he wouldn't stop until he had her cornered. And that's when it happened. Her desperate moment of survival. Up ahead, a man stood outside a bookstore, his tall figure solid against the storm. He wore a long wool coat. His dark hair was dusted with snow, and he held a phone in his hand, reading something with complete concentration. To Dana, he looked like a lifeline. Without a second thought, she ran forward and clung to him, wrapping her arms around him. Her voice trembled as she whispered, Please, just play along. Pretend you're with me. The man tensed, clearly taken by surprise. His phone slid into his pocket as he instinctively held her by the shoulders. His eyes, deep and penetrating, calmed her for an instant. Then, as Jake's voice boomed from the crowd again, his entire posture shifted. He rooted Dana firmly by his side, his arm encircling her like a shield. His broad frame blocked Jake's path, and his voice was low, but commanding. She's with me. Is there a problem? Jake stopped dead in his tracks, fury blazing in his eyes. Who the hell are you? He barked, his voice dripping with jealousy. Since when does Dana have a man? Dana's stomach twisted, fear and relief colliding inside her. The stranger hadn't hesitated. He had taken on the role without a second thought. Jake's gaze moved between them, suspicious and venomous. You think you can hide behind some random guy, Dana? You think this will scare me off? The stranger's eyes didn't waver. His voice was firm, authoritative, and sharp as steel. Leave. The crowd around them began to stop. Curious eyes fixed on the scene. Dana's cheeks burned with humiliation, but she felt strangely safe. The man's presence was like a wall between her and the nightmare of her past. Jake clenched his fists at his sides, his jaw tightening. For a moment Dana thought he might lunge, but then he spat out curses under his breath and stormed off into the night, his threats hanging in the icy air. Dana's body sagged with relief as she clung to the stranger's coat. She looked up at him, her lips parting to whisper a thank you. But as her eyes met his, she froze. There was something in his gaze. Power, calm, and something else she couldn't name. Who exactly was the man she had just dragged into her storm? And why was looking at her as if this encounter was only the beginning? Part 6. The Unveiling. Dana could barely control her breathing after Jake disappeared into the snowy night. Her body was still shaking as she clung to the stranger, her heart pounding so fast she thought it might burst. Slowly she pulled away, embarrassed by her desperation. I'm sorry, she whispered, her cheeks flushed. I didn't know what else to do. He wouldn't stop following me. Thaman studied her for a long moment. His eyes were piercing but not unkind. And though his expression was calm, there was a quiet strength in the way he held himself. Finally, he spoke in a steady, reassuring voice. "You don't have to apologize. No one should be forced to run like that." Dana bit her lip, holding back tears. For the first time in months, someone hadn't judged her, scolded her, or walked away. Instead, this stranger, this man she had grabbed without thinking, had stepped in to protect her without hesitation. The cold wind whipped around them, and Dana shivered. The man noticed and asked softly, "Do you live nearby? It's not safe to be out here alone, especially with him lurking." Dana hesitated. She didn't know his name. She knew nothing about him. And yet, there was something solid about his presence. Still, caution crept in. "I'll be fine. I just need to get home." He nodded slightly, not pressing the issue. "At least let me walk you part of the way, just in case." They walked in silence down the snowy streets, the city lights reflecting off the slushy puddles. Dana felt a strange comfort in his quiet company, as if his calm was absorbing some of her fear. She stole a glance at him. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with an air of quiet authority. There was something about him that didn't quite fit the image of an ordinary man on the street. When they reached a dimly lit corner, near the tube station, a sudden sound cut through the air. Jake's voice, Dana, her heart stopped. Jake had circled back, waiting for them. He emerged from the shadows, his smile sharp and cruel. "You didn't think you could get rid of me that easily, did you?" Dana froze, panic gripping her. But before she could react, the stranger stepped forward, placing himself directly between her and Jake. His voice came out low, firm, and dangerous. "I told you to leave," Jake scoffed, stepping closer. "And who are you supposed to be?" "Her bodyguard." The stranger's gaze hardened. "Call me what you want, but if you touch her, you'll regret it." Dana's breath caught in her throat. The authority in his voice was unlike anything she had ever heard before. Calm yet commanding, the kind of tone that left no room for doubt. Jake's bravado faltered under that stare. For a long moment, the tension grew thick in the air. Finally, he spat on the ground and muttered, "This isn't over." Then he stormed away once more, his threats hanging like smoke. Dana's knees buckled, and the stranger caught her before she could fall. His arm was firm, his warmth seeping through her coat. She held onto his sleeve, tears welling in her eyes. For the first time, Dana felt a spark of safety, a fragile hope she hadn't known in years. She looked up at him, her voice trembling. "I don't even know your name." And the stranger's reply would change everything. Part 7. The billionaire's name. The cold wind howled between the buildings, but Dana barely noticed. She clung to Themon's sleeve, still shaking from Jake's threats. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "I don't even know your name." The man looked down at her, his expression softening. "Rupert," he said simply. "Rupert Thorne." Dana repeated it under her breath, almost as if she were testing the sound. It carried weight, though she couldn't say why. She nodded, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, Rupert. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't been there." Rupert didn't reply immediately. He studied her carefully, as if trying to read the hidden story behind her frightened eyes. "You don't have to thank me," he said finally. "But you should know that men like him don't stop easily. You have to be careful." Dana sighed, exhaustion sinking into her bones. "I know, but I don't have the luxury of being careful. I'm just trying to survive." For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Snow crunched under their feet as they walked. Rupert seemed to hesitate before asking in a low voice, "Do you trust me enough to let me buy you a coffee just to get warm?" She wavered, wary of trusting someone again. Yet something in his quiet presence made her nod. "Okay." They slipped into a small cafe tucked between office buildings. The warmth of the indoors wrapped around Dana like a blanket. The scent of roasted beans filled the air. Rupert ordered 2 drinks without asking. Black coffee for him and hot chocolate for her. When he placed the cup in front of her, Dana blinked in surprise. "How did you know I don't drink coffee?" she asked. He gave her a small smile. "You seemed like you needed comfort, not caffeine." Her chest tightened. No one had noticed such things about her in a long time. As they sipped in silence, Dana finally dared to truly study him. His tailored coat, the expensive watch peeking from his sleeve, the way people looked at him with a subtle recognition. He didn't fit the image of a random stranger. Something about Rupert screamed influence, control, and hidden power. She leaned forward cautiously. "Rupert, who are you really?" He raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, men don't just step in like that without a reason. You carry yourself like someone used to being obeyed." And she gestured subtly to his watch. "That doesn't look like something a bookstore girl wears." Rupert's smile faded into a thoughtful line. For a moment, his gaze drifted toward the snow outside. Then he spoke in a low but firm voice. "You're right. I'm not a simple stranger. My family owns Thorne Industries. I run it now." Dana's eyes widened, her hands freezing around her cup. Thorne Industries. Even she, the woman struggling to pay rent, knew the name. A global empire, billions in revenue. You're a billionaire, she whispered, disbelief coloring her words. Rupert held her gaze. That doesn't matter now. What matters is that you're in danger. And I'm not going to stand by and let that man torment you. Dana's heart pounded, torn between disbelief and the fragile hope his words ignited. She had clung to him out of desperation, not knowing she had thrown herself into the arms of one of London's most powerful men. But what did it mean for her fragile, crumbling life that a billionaire had suddenly walked into it? Do you think Rupert's power will be enough to protect Dana from Jake? Or will his wealth only make things more complicated? Let us know your opinion in the comments, and let's follow the story together. Part 8, The Price of Pride. The next day at the clothing store, Dana tried to keep her head down, folding jeans and greeting customers with a forced smile. But the pain of judgment was everywhere. Some whispered as they passed. Others didn't even bother to whisper. Isn't that the woman from the Post? A customer muttered loudly. Clinging to some rich guy while she's pregnant. What a disgrace. Dana's throat tightened. She forced herself to keep working, but every word was a knife. Her manager pulled her aside at lunchtime, his tone concerned. Dana, I like you. I really do. But customers are complaining. Maybe it's best you take some time off until this blows over. Her heart sank. She needed every paycheck to survive, but she nodded weakly. I understand. As she walked out of the store, her head bowed. The evening air chilled her face. She wanted to disappear. Jake had won. Her reputation was in tatters. She barely noticed a sleek black car pull up until the door opened and Rupert stepped out, heads turned immediately. Rupert Thorne was no ordinary man. He carried himself with the quiet authority of someone used to commanding attention. His tailored suit, his serene expression, his very presence caused people to stop in their tracks. Dana froze. Rupert, what are you doing here? She whispered. He didn't reply to her. Instead, he raised his voice for everyone on the busy street to hear him. I want to make something very clear. The crowd went silent. Phones came out. John recording. Dana's chest tightened as panic and confusion warred inside her. Rupert's gaze swept over the curious faces and then settled firmly on Dana. This woman, he said, his voice strong and unwavering, is not what the rumors say. She is brave. She is strong, and she deserves respect. Murmurs spread through the onlookers. Dana's eyes widened. Rupert wasn't just defending her. He was risking his reputation for her. He stepped closer, placing himself at her side. Anyone who spreads lies about her is a coward, and let me assure you, those lies will not go unanswered. The whispers shifted, doubt replacing judgment. Some people lowered their phones, suddenly unsure. Dana's heart pounded, tears threatening to spill. But then, from across the street, Jake's mocking laugh cut through the air. He walked forward, clapping slowly, his smile ass-sharp as a blade, touching Rupert, very touching. But you don't know the real Dana like I do. The crowd parted as Jake approached, relishing the attention. She's a liar. She's manipulative. She trapped me with a baby I never wanted. And now she's clinging to you because you have money. Don't play the hero. She's not worth it. Dana's face burned with shame. The world seemed to tilt. Jake's words rang louder than Rupert's defense. But Rupert didn't flinch. His voice cut through the noise like steel. You're the liar here, Jake. And soon the whole world will know it. The murmurs erupted again. Jake's arrogant expression faltered, but his eyes hardened with fury. Dana looked at Rupert, her heart pounding. For the first time, someone had publicly taken her side. But she also knew Jake, and he wouldn't let this go unanswered because Jake had just been challenged in front of the world, and his revenge would be ruthless. Don't let fear stop you. Like, subscribe, and comment your prediction for Jake's next move. Part 9. The Breaking Point. That night, Dana George lay awake in her small apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling. Rupert's public defense replayed in her mind like a dream. His words had been strong, powerful, almost enough to drown out Jake's poison. But the comments online told a different story. Jake had doubled down, twisting Rupert's support into another attack. His new post read, "Of course she has a billionaire covering her back. I guess money buys loyalty too. Open your eyes, people. Dana is playing all of you." The flood of cruel comments hit Dana like waves, each one pulling her deeper. She's shameless. Gold digger. That poor baby doesn't stand a chance. Dana clutched her phone until her hands shook, then threw it aside. She curled up on the sofa, sobs shaking her body. Why won't he stop? She whispered into the silence. The walls of the apartment seemed to close in on her. The bills were piled on the counter. The eviction notice still loomed, and exhaustion weighed on her pregnant body. She thought of her parents, how they used to tell her she was stronger than she knew. But tonight, she couldn't find that strength. She pressed her hand to her belly, guilt piercing her heart. I'm so sorry, baby. I wanted to protect you, but I'm failing. The pressure inside her chest grew until she couldn't breathe. Panic gripped her. Her vision blurred with dizziness. She stumbled to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face. In the mirror, she barely recognized herself. Pale skin, swollen eyes, and a hollow sadness that seemed to be eating her alive. Her phone rang again. Another cruel message. Another reminder that Jake's lies were spreading faster than the truth ever could. Dana sank to the floor, hugging her knees, whispering through tears. Maybe I can't fight this. Maybe he already won. In that moment, her strength broke. She felt completely defeated, as if every ounce of fight had been drained from her. She pictured Jake smiling, satisfied, and the thought nearly split her in two. Hours later, she found herself standing by the window, staring out at the cold city lights. Snow floated lazily from the sky, dusting the streets. Somewhere out there, Rupert existed. Powerful, solid, unshakable. She thought of his words, his promise to stop Jake. For a brief moment, she wanted to believe him, but doubt whispered louder. Why would a billionaire truly care about someone like me? Tears blurred her vision again. Dana pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering, I'm a nobody. He'll realize that soon. As she finally collapsed into bed, exhaustion dragging her down, one thought consumed her. Maybe she couldn't escape Jake. Maybe no matter how far she ran, no matter who was by her side, her past would always poison her future. And Dana had no idea that Jake's next move was already in motion. One that would push her to the breaking point and force Rupert to reveal just how far he was willing to go to protect her. Did you think Dana will give up or find the strength to rise once more? Share your prediction, and don't forget to follow us to see the conclusion. Part 10, The Last Stand. The storm within Dana George's life reached its breaking point on a frigid winter night. She and Rupert sat quietly in his home by the coast, the crackling fire casting a soft light over the room. For the first time in months, she felt at peace. But deep down, she knew Jake would never let her go without one last fight. Her fear proved to be true. Jake returned to her world with a crashing, desperate recklessness. He showed up outside Rupert's estate, screaming her name into the darkness. His voice slurred with alcohol and rage. Security rushed to stop him, but Dana stepped forward, her heart pounding. She knew this was it, the moment she had been running from for so long. Rupert tried to shield her, but she shook her head. No, I have to face him. She walked out into the freezing night, the snow crunching under her shoes. Jake's eyes were wild, his clothes disheveled, his pride hanging by a thread. You think you've won? He spat. You think you can erase me? I'm still that child's father. Dana's breath hitched, but her voice came out strong. A father protects. A father loves. You abandoned us the moment you walked away. You no longer have a right to claim that title. Jake stumbled closer, his words sharp with venom. You were nothing without me. Nothing. And you'll be nothing again when he realizes what you are. He jabbed a finger at Rupert, who stood solid behind her. But Dana didn't flinch. For the first time, she didn't shrink from his words. You're wrong, Jake. I was something before you, and I'll be something after you. You didn't break me. You made me stronger. The words hung in the freezing air. Jake's face twisted in fury, but the fight drained out of him as security finally moved in, pulling him back. He yelled curses, promises of revenge, but now they sounded empty. The world had seen his true face. His downfall was complete. Dana stood tall, tears streaming down her cheeks, but they were no longer tears of fear. They were tears of liberation. The weight of years of pain finally lifted, making room for something new. Rupert stepped forward, wrapping his arms around her. His voice was soft but firm. It's over, Dana. He can't hurt you anymore. Her body trembled as she leaned into him, whispering, For the first time, I believe it. In the weeks that followed, Jake disappeared from the headlines. His reputation in tatters, his life in ruins. Dana, however, began to blossom. With Rupert's support, she found stability, but most importantly, she found herself again. She prepared for motherhood, not with fear, but with hope. On a crisp spring morning, Dana held her newborn daughter in her arms, tears of joy streaming down her face. Rupert sat by her side, his eyes filled with pride and love. You're not alone anymore, he whispered, kissing her forehead. Dana looked at her baby, then at Rupert. For the first time, she saw not just survival, but a future, bright, safe, and filled with love. Her story was no longer one of ruin, but of redemption. And as she cradled her daughter, Dana knew the truth. She had faced the storm and she had won. The story has finally come to an end, my dear friends. And if you're still with us, it means something in this journey touched your hearts. Dana's story reminds us of an important truth. No matter how heavy the betrayal or suffering feels, we always have the power to overcome it. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "Luck gives us the opportunity for virtue." And indeed, Dana's hardships gave her the chance to show a strength she never knew she had. So, let this story be your reminder. Storms don't last forever, and healing is always possible.